Hi guys, welcome back to the Little Craft House. If you've been following me for a while, you will know how much I love my Posca Paint Pens. I use them all the time in my Polymer Clay earrings, so I thought today we would dedicate a whole tutorial to using your Posca Paint Pens with your Polymer Clay. Now, this tutorial is not sponsored at all. We do stock these pens in our store, but I do buy all of my own ones. I don't get sponsored by them. So I just love them. So I thought we'd talk about them today and give you guys some tips and tricks on using them because they are a fantastic pen and they are very, very versatile. Now, when I say they're versatile, they come in so many different colors and tip sizes, and they can be applied to many, many applications. So, not only polymer clay, you can use them on glass, you can use them on pottery, you can use them on fabric. A lot of artists use them on large scale designs such as skateboards or surfboards. They can also be used on mugs or shoes or handbags, so many things. But my favorite, of course, is using them in my jewelry designs. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the Posca pens come in a range of different sizes. These four are the four that I like to use the most when it comes to my polymer clay designs. They're the four smaller sizes, and I just find that these ones work best as they are smaller designs that I'm doing, not larger artworks. So they do come in larger sizing as well, but yeah, these are the ones that I prefer the most. So to start with, we've got the PC1MR. That is an R there, it's just a little bit dirty. The next one is a PC1M. I don't tend to use this one quite as much. I find sometimes it can be a little bit splattery. Just with the nib, I find, yeah, sometimes it just kind of splatters a little bit. So I do tend to use the 1MR more. We've also got the PC3M. That one's got a bit of a thicker nib to it. And lastly, it's the PC5M, and that's the thickest nib size that I like to use. So when you purchase a new Posca pen, you need to do something which is called charging it, and that will get it ready for use. So this one's a brand new one, it's still in its packaging, so we'll just break it out of that. And we shall get this one charged and ready for use. Now, as you can see, it's got the white nib at the moment because the paint hasn't come through the channel to the nib. So inside the pen, they like to describe it as having a channel within it, and that's where paint sits. So you need to get the paint, sometimes the paint will separate whilst it is not in use. So each time before you use a Posca, and especially when it's a brand new Posca, you need to give it a really good shake. So I'm just going to shake it for a few moments and just get all the paint inside the channel mixed up and ready to start flowing. If you can hear the ball freely moving like that, it's mixing up well. Sometimes with the smaller pens, it takes a little bit before you can actually hear that ball moving within it. So just keep shaking until you get it there. Then once you've given it a really good shake, we're going to get our piece of scrap paper, and we're just going to press the nib up and down until the paint starts coming through, and you'll notice the nib slowly start changing colour to the colour of the pen. Just going to very awkwardly hold the camera here and see if you can see when it starts coming down. You can see it's starting to flow down now. There we go. Okay, and then once it started flowing, just give it a little bit of scribbles just to make sure that it is flowing properly before you start using it on your artwork. There we go. Good and ready to go. Okay, so we're just going to do really simple little creation here, which we're going to use the Poscas on once the clay has cured. So I do only have a tiny bit of clay. I probably should have cut some more. But what I'm just going to do is cut out 2 really simple love heart shapes. And I'm just going to pop them into the oven and get them all cured up, and then we'll be able to decorate them once they are firm. And then, yeah, we're going to make them all pretty. So I decided that we're going to do a second example on baked clay as well. So I've got these cute little dinosaur shape cutters, and I also have this nice blend of this rainbow blend that we did the other week when we were looking at doing those colourful blends. So if you missed that tutorial, that was, I think, 1 or 2 weeks ago. So scroll back through my YouTube and you'll see the full tutorial on doing those colour blends. Anyway, let's just find the perfect spot to cut these dinos out. I think we're going to do them like this. Give it a good push. So once I've cut these pieces out, I'm going to pop both these and those love hearts in the oven. We're going to cure them properly so that they're fully cured, just like we would any other polymer clay creation that we make. So because mine are a Sculpey Primo and Sculpey Soufflés, they're going to bake for about an hour at the 120, 130-ish mark. Now with the hearts, we are now going to decorate these ones. So once again, I haven't done any sanding or anything yet. I will leave that until after I've finished, just so then I can clean up the edges nicely once they're done. So I think I'm going to go with a bit of a sort of 80s vibe with these. I've pulled out some colours. So I'm going to use the aqua green, pink, and this one is glitter yellow. So just a nice little bright range there. And I've also, they're all the 3Ms and 3ml for the glitter. And then I've got the 1mr black to do my outline in. Okay, so another little handy tip when we're using the Posca markers on our baked clay is to get a little bit of blue tack, and we're going to blue tack each of the clay pieces onto, I'm using an old business card. Yep, stick on there, mister. And what this is going to do is give us the ability to move them around as we need to without having to touch the pieces and the possibility of smudging them. All right, I'm going to start off with my outlining pen, and I'm just going to do up some lines within it, and then we can colour them in with these colours. Not quite even, but close enough. You can see there with that glitter yellow, it's just got that nice little shimmer to it. Oh, there we go, catching the light. And as you can see, these obviously are quite far from perfect, but I will, once these are dry, I'm going to go back over those lines, the black lines, just to neaten that up a little bit. And now that I have tidied them up a bit, I'm just going to pop them on the baking tray and pop them aside. Okay, so my little dinosaurs are all baked up, and we're going to add some decoration onto them with the Poscas now. So I'm going to use the 3M, the black one, and I'm going to use the PC 1M. I don't have white handy. I don't know what's happened to my white. So I'm going to use ivory. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, I generally like using the 1MR size better, but yeah, my white one of these has gone missing, so I'm going to use the PC 1M in the ivory instead. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to go and grab my piece of business card and the blue tack. I'm just going to blue tack these on again so that I can move them around. We're going to do some little outlining. So I want to make these ones look sort of cartoony, sort of sketchy, kind of, you'll know what I mean when I've done it. But yeah, I'm going to outline him first in the black. So I have sped this up. I actually went so slowly. I was being so careful to keep my lines nice and even. So I thought I would just speed it up for you guys to watch because yeah, it actually took me quite a while. Now I haven't sanded around the edges of these yet either, so you can see that there's quite a bit of roughness there. By the time I take that back, it'll you won't be able to see that colour outline there. The black will be closer, and I think I might afterwards as well go around, once I have sanded it, I might go around and do all the edges properly with the black as well. I'm still undecided about that at the moment. Now, if during this process you make a mistake, the Posca can be removed. I find it easiest if I use some isopropyl alcohol or an alcohol wipe. That tends to work best to remove it. Sometimes the black is a bit smudgy, so it takes a little bit to actually remove that without transferring too much colour onto the clay. But it can be removed, it just sometimes takes a little bit more work just to remove that. And now I'm going to take the 1M and I'm just going to do some bit of detail down his back on both of them. I think that is enough. I don't think it needs anything more than that, but I do need to give him a face, so that's where I will use my 1MR just to give him a little eye and a little smile. And there we go. Okay, so I briefly mentioned before how I had popped my love hearts onto the baking tray. I'm going to do the same with the dinosaurs. So one of the important steps when we use the Posca Paint Pens is that we need to set them. And when we set them, that's going to help to make them more permanent. So we're going to pop them back into the oven at the Same temperature that we baked the clay at before, but we're going to put them in just for about 15 minutes, and that's going to set that paint. Whilst those ones are curing, I'm going to work on a little slab and demonstrate to you using Posca on raw clay. So sometimes when the design I'm working on is like this, it is easier to apply the Posca while it's raw. I can also be a little bit impatient sometimes, and I don't want to have to do that whole rebaking step. So if it's something like simple dots or dashes, I'll try and get away with doing it whilst raw too. So for this design, I'm going to use the PC1MR. And so one thing to be aware of is that if you are applying it whilst raw, especially these finer tipped pens, they can sometimes put small dents, or if you're doing more like line work, it can cause a little bit of drag on the clay if you're not careful. But with a design like this, I don't mind that it is putting those little dents in as well, because it's kind of adding a little bit of texture, which adds a little bit of interest as well. And as I just mentioned before, once I cut the pieces out and bake them, there would be no need to rebake. I'll just have to bake them once at the normal time and temperature. Okay, so my pieces have now had their second bake, and I've sanded them all up and finished them all off. With my dinos, I added a coat of the Sculpey Gloss Glaze, which is this one here. Now I must apologise, I did film the process, however something happened with my camera and it didn't save properly. So I will cover glazing in another tutorial another time. But yes, I just gave those ones a coat of the gloss glaze to give them that little bit of shine. It also helps to protect the paint a little bit more as well. So thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully I've inspired you to use some Posca Paint Pens in your creations, and whether that be once they are baked or whilst it's raw. Yeah, I just really like them. They just add something extra to your designs that you can't always do with clay. So thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you again next time. Bye.